What's going on, everybody? Today, I've got a cool, different format podcast that we're going to use on video today to talk about AI and the future of work and also how business owners can be creative and go from zero and just concept to actual product in a very short amount of time. And my good friend Mouyyad Abdulhadi is here. He's a multiple, I would say at this point, serial entrepreneur, owning and running multiple businesses at once and scaling his time and delegating, I think, are incredible skills that you have that leave you open for curiosity, like some of the things that we're going to talk about today.
Thanks for having me, Rob. Nice talking to you, man.
Yeah, this is great. We go from we're friends in real life, so we can just like allocate time and call it work and just chat about cool stuff
Yeah,
that we're interested in.
exactly. Exactly.
So, and we have worked together multiple times with your business, Pax and Beneficia.
hmm
So, why don't you just tell us for listeners who are not as familiar, because I don't think that coffee shops and AI are
hmm
typically like one to one when you think of discussing the future of work. So, tell us about Pax, and then we'll get into Barista GPT.
Yeah, so PAX was a passion project for me and my partner, Mouyyad. Basically, the marketing story, I love to say this, the marketing story on the website is the 100% truth. We were on a couples trip through Sweden and Norway, and in a previous podcast, you and I had talked about Flom, right? Like, remember Flom,
Yeah, Flom, Norway.
yeah. We'll have to add that in the notes somewhere. But we just started talking about how, oh, we both love coffee and different techniques, and how one day we'd love to open coffee shops. And then that just kind of became more and more of a convo about what would it be, what would it become, how we would present it. And we fell asleep on the train, and I get tapped on my shoulder, and Mamdouh was like, "Hey, I got a name." And I was like, "Cool, what is it?" He's like, "Pax and Beneficia." I was like, "Sounds great. What does it mean?" He said, "Peace and blessings in Latin." And I was like, "That's awesome. Can we go back to sleep?" So after that, it was just like, whatever. And we get back home and we just start sending each other messages and pictures of different cafes we've seen or things that we think are cool. And then I finally found the first location. We had friends coming over. It's our first Las Colinas location. I was like, this area needs a coffee shop. Called them up and I said, hey, are you ready to do this? And the rest is history. So now we're at four, soon to be five locations, hopefully next week. We're roasting our own coffee. So we've kind of expanded from the cafes to roasting to also an e-commerce side. It's been a wild 4 years, obviously, just because just owning and running a business like this has its own challenges and difficulties. But when you add in things like COVID and supply chain issues and like me having a kid and all this stuff is just like it was just a crazy 4 years. But here we are, still thriving.
Well, it's so exciting to see the growth and being able to be kind of watching alongside as you and your partners grow the business and continuing to expand but not lose that culture and lose that spirit of the original location, and then adding the roastery and hearing the story behind that, and then being able to see bags of Pax and Beneficia coffee. We had during the e-commerce launch, you sent us a bag and we roasted it, or we ground it up and used it at the house, and it's just really cool to see that come to life. And so I want to talk a little bit as well, because I think over the past year or so, just from a marketing side, and your background is as a marketer, and that's how we know each other. We met through a place that we both worked, and AI has really supplanted crypto as the sort of flavor of
Mhm.
the moment, both on the investment side. You look at Nvidia, for example, basically keeping the US economy afloat, or the S&P 500 afloat in terms of the stock market, but also OpenAI, Google and Bard and Bing and Microsoft. All of the headlines in tech from the last, say year or so have been AI driven. And we're sort of in this era where we've kind of moved past I guess, the fear stage of AI. AI is here to stay. Many people are using it. Hundreds of millions of people use ChatGPT, for example. And you had this idea of how you
Mhm.
could integrate AI into not just your coffee business, but
Mhm.
to almost any coffee shop. So why don't you tell us
Mhm.
about the birthplace of Barista GPT?
Yeah, so I mean, to your point, AI just kind of came on the scene, I guess, like what it was about October of last year. And before that, there was a lot of machine learning tools and AI tools. Like I'm sure you've used like Jasper AI and some of these like copywriting tools and stuff. And I mean, they worked okay, but they weren't really like, oh my God, this is like game changing, right? Like you'd use them and you might get some copy, but that was it. And then I remember when ChatGPT 3.5 like really launched, and I started playing with it. I was like, man, this is incredible. And so I was in Colombia. I was in Medellin in the lobby of a hotel waiting on my friends to get ready. And I was literally on my phone on Twitter, and I saw a thread of a guy, and I wish I had saved that thread or took a screenshot or something. But he was talking about how he used ChatGPT to completely create a new Chrome extension, right? So I was like, let me try it. So I open my laptop sitting in the lobby and I start asking ChatGPT. I was like, okay, let me just do a simple Chrome extension around. I want to put in a zip code and I want ranks of coffee shops that are close to me in that zip code, right? And within, I kid you not, 45 minutes, like I actually timed myself, 45 minutes, I had a working Chrome extension installed on my browser where I could put in a zip code and it gave me coffee shops. And it helped me code it, debug it, deploy it, do the Google Maps integration, all this stuff. I'm not a coder, right? Like I am not, like you said, I'm not an engineer. I know basic HTML and CSS. I understand conceptually how back end, front end work, but I am not a coder by any stretch of the imagination. So for me to be able to code a complete Chrome extension in 45 minutes using this AI, I was like, all right, our world has just changed. Like that was for me the moment I was like, oh crap, like this just changes everything, right?
And I remember when you sent us that Chrome extension, like to me, because you had never built a Chrome extension before, right?
Never,
So
never.
you, from concept using AI, you had an idea. You asked ChatGPT, I assume from the start to finish, how to make a Chrome extension, what kind
Yes.
of code I
I
wanted to
still
do
have the
this.
chat saved. I have the chat saved. That I do have it saved. Like I'll send you the screenshot of the whole chat. Like it went from, like you said, how do I do this? What's the code? How do I deploy it? Oh, I'm getting these errors. Okay, how do I add Google Maps? How do I do this? And it gave me step by step. I just copy and paste, copy and paste, copy and paste.
Incredible. And I think most people probably don't even realize that they can use ChatGPT in that way. For me, even, I was doing an event, a virtual event, and I had a chef come in to prepare dishes based on a set of ingredients. But what I realized about the day of the event, probably 6 hours before the event started, that I didn't have nutrition facts, and when that was really important for my audience. And
Right.
so on one hand, I was like, oh man, I'm going to have to block off a bunch of time in my calendar, make an Excel table, design this like nutrition facts label. I've never done that before.
Yep.
And then I remembered, I was like, oh, well, let me see if ChatGPT can export this in this format. And what it
Yep.
did was I would just put the ingredients in and the serving size, and it formatted exactly how every nutrition label that you and I would see in the grocery store by itself. And
Yep.
that was kind of my moment,
That,
similar to yours, about using ChatGPT not just to tell a funny story or answer a silly question or to
or
summarize an
rap lyrics
article.
or whatever. Right. Yeah.
Exactly, or write a poem or generate
Yeah.
something silly, but like using it for skill, like to jump over skill acquisition. Because
Right.
you're a smart guy, you could have learned how to code a Chrome extension, but it would have taken you hours of YouTube videos and lots of
Yeah,
pain.
hours and months and wasted, honestly, wasted time that I could have been on something else to learn how to do it. I mean, not wasted, I guess, because you're still learning,
Sure,
but not a good ROI on that time for sure.
absolutely. And so, okay, so gave you the insight, like, oh, okay, this is
Right.
possible. So going from that Chrome extension to the product that eventually became Barista GPT, what was that like for you?
Yeah. So then after that, I started thinking. I was like, okay, how do I use AI in different industries and build something that is actually usable? And I mean, obviously, coffee shop founder, no coffee, no that industry. So what could I do there? And the initial concept was just questions and answer about the menu, right? Like just like you walk into any coffee shop, you see the menu, you're gonna ask questions to the barista, like, do you have this or this or this? I was like, okay, how do I do that? So I went to like I started trying to do it myself, try to do the same coding thing, And it was so funny. Later, I found out like I had it all built, but there was like just one line of code that I kept running into that even ChatGPT, like I just wasn't asking the right question for it to fix it. But when I gave it to a developer, it's like, oh no, you had the whole thing ready. It was just like this one piece. I was like, are you kidding me? Like I could have this like months ago, right? So I started looking at no code tools. I was like, okay, how can I do this with no code? So I went on bubble.is and there was already a tutorial on how you use AI or OpenAI APIs to build a chat. So I was like, okay, let me just follow that. It was like a 45-minute hour class. I was like, let me follow that, just substitute what I'm doing with what they're doing. And initially, it was literally just I had a CSV of the menu, of the PAX menu. I copied it and pasted it in a prompt and sent it to OpenAI API, and then I would get back responses. I was like, so I started asking questions. I was like, okay, how good is this? Do you have alternative milks? Yes, here's alternative milks, almond, oat, whatever. I want a latte. Great. Your latte is this. It costs $5. What flavors do you have? Okay, here are the flavor syrups. And it was so good. I was like, okay, if I just did this with no code, then this is a big deal. So I went on, okay, how could I actually make this a platform and deploy it? Started doing it with Replit, say ran into the issue. I was like, okay, I need a developer. This is kind of where like I've reached my end of my knowledge and I now I need to get hand it off to a developer. So I called a friend of mine. I worked with him in previously at Well Health and super intelligent guy, intelligent developer, helped work with us on pack stuff. And I was like, hey, here's the concept. We need a menu engagement platform where I could either upload a menu or pull directly from the POS, and customers can ask and answer questions. And we had it. Like he built it within like a few like maybe like a week total. Like he had a working like UI and everything. I started playing with it. I was like, okay, this is good, but there's something missing. So we need to add the ordering component. And that's kind of when I was like, okay, this has a lot of potential. And I was telling you and Jonathan, I think, like I've never been as nervous to launch something as I was this. And I launched like he's no like I launched things, I opened things like I don't even think twice. And I was like, great if it works, great if it doesn't, whatever, on to the next thing. But this is the one I was actually nervous and excited about. It was a nervous, excited, nervous kind of thing because of the potential applications that it has. Not just for coffee shops, right? Because now you're talking about an AI powered contextual engagement platform, right? Where it's not just questions and answers about the menu, it's about, okay, here's an example, the feature that we added about a month ago, where someone can save their order and it knows that it's their usual. So when somebody logs back in, they just say usual, and it automatically pulls it up, and you can process payment and it orders, right?
Right. So it
And the
knows
whole
that through my login what my usual order is.
yes, so it now knows that, right? And it saves it, and every time it pulls it, whatever. And then as Pax makes menu updates, Barista GPT uploads that menu updates. And it took about a good 6 months of that to kind of get it to a point where now it's about 85 to 90%. Still some error cases, but just like anything, like it's working. So then now I'm at a point. I was like, okay, what do we do next, right? With Barista, and I don't think like so. It is Barista GPT, and the whole point was to mimic the coffee shop experience, where you go in and you talk to a barista and you get the order and you get that processed. But what I just thinking further through this, one, it's not just coffee shops. Anybody using a POS to order, right? Like think your barber, think your like Emporium Pies in Dallas, right? Think anybody that has that infrastructure, small business infrastructure, anybody could just go into their Barista GPT instance and start engaging and asking questions with that business and to place orders, right? So that's the customer side. But then I started as a business owner, what are the things that keep you up at night? One, it's is the customer being served according to your standards, right? Is the staff doing what they're supposed to do with you not there, right? And these are things that any business owner has to work through, right? Like you could have checklists and procedures, but we're dealing with humans at the end of the day, and there's always potential for errors, right? We're not dealing with robots. So what are things that we can add there? And I was like, okay, here are some of like I look at packs and I go to other businesses, even Fortune 500 companies like Kava or whatever, everybody's running off of checklists and things that they have to write. So I was like, well, you can put that all in ChatGPT and an AI, and it could contextually give you your entire playbook for that whatever business instance is. Uh, so these are the things that now we're really kind of building out. So I think the first direction is let's get to a an actual stopping point for the customer experience, get it as good as it can get, add some more points that it can be sticky from a loyalty side, an ordering side, a repeat visit side, even things like when you visit the place in person kind of thing. So that's on side. And then what I want to focus on is on the B2B side and how do you help a coffee shop or a business better run through AI.
I think it's really interesting that AI is kind of revealing these things about workflows. Like you've mentioned checklists a few times. I've been digging into like delegation, and this is probably some of the impetus for this show, but almost everyone overestimates the complexity of their workflow. And I think looking at your workflow through a mirror of AI, can this robot, this algorithm, translate what I'm doing from one step to another? Is it simple enough to do that? The answer 90% of the time is yes. And there's also that delegation principle where, like, if something can do something 70% as good as you need to delegate to them and trust that they'll get
Right,
better over time. And I think
right,
that's where I'm excited, especially, for small business owners like you and I, where we don't have the flexibility and the operating capital to bring in a full-time employee to build this. How can
right,
we augment that using technology and get a 10% productivity gain, or even a 5% productivity gain, or a 5% increase in customer experience? Because what you're talking about as well is so applicable to all of these different interactions. You mentioned a couple of different brand names, but like, what is the typical transaction for a customer in a restaurant or a coffee shop or any kind of vendor? Is they look at what they have and they have to decide what they want based on their tastes and preferences.
right,
And we all know the difference between a great server or a great barista or a great sommelier.
right,
And we want to filter that through our likes and preferences. And if you have something that can do that to 90% of in this case, a specialist, you're a sommelier or a great barista are not easy to find or cheap resources. And if you can augment that to the point where you're able to scale it through your entire coffee shop system, that's a huge benefit.
right. And that's kind of that's kind of what the way we're building that is like, okay, listen, how can I build this where I'm not replacing the in-person experience, just augmenting it, right? Especially when you're a specialty coffee shop, like Starbucks, fine. Like we all know the stories about like the app is like a bank and like gift cards, all that. People like Starbucks has all this money because people are using the app so much, and you just go pick it up and go. And that's fine for that audience and for that company, right? But for specialty coffee shops, and I think a lot of small businesses, even non-food related, the one-on-one experience, the personalized experience, the local branding, the support the small business Saturday, all that stuff goes into, okay, I want to still talk to humans and interact with them so I could see, like, so I could feel like I'm doing something and I could feel that emotion and empathy, right? So how do I do that with AI where you're not replacing a human, right? So one tangential part of this is right, like to your point about scaling even for an agency. So as you know, I run a smaller agency out of Colombia, out of Medellin, right? So we have resources there, and the biggest issue with the product of work that comes out of there is the language barrier. Fairly so, right? English is their second language. They're not copywriters in English. They might speak English. But they've learned English, a lot of them, either through simple college or whatever, or just watching Netflix, right? Like that's how a lot of this goes through. So early on, when like as soon as like I saw these things happen with AI, I was like, hey guys, you're working too hard. Go put it in Chat GPT, right? I just got a screenshot. That's cool. I really got that too.
Yeah, I was pressing buttons back
Uh,
here.
this is a cool
But
platform.
yeah,
Speaking
like,
of that, all right. But to your point, right? Like, so how do you build it to augment everybody's workflow, which aren't, like you said, aren't that difficult, right? Like if you simplify it, like the workflow is very simple. You're just adding something to make it go faster and maybe just slightly different way to do it.
It's interesting. I think, I have learned as well owning an agency, like you said, that there's so many benefits to being a small business. And I think as a founder, we read stories all the time about founders who go from 0 to 100 million or zero, these unicorn companies that are $1 billion+ valuations. And the reality is, like, most businesses are not that large, and their even total addressable market is not that large. There are exceptions, but there's an opportunity to be a small business and to employ people and to have a good experience and to be local and to have that local branding or to have your local advertising guy or your local coffee guy. And I think that that's a really big, community driver of commerce, and like how, especially, in America, it's designed to be that way, where, you don't have to go to the big companies. And now I think democratization of software, democratization of tech, where we've kind of been in this era, and in the agency that you and I met through our previous employer did this very same thing with social media,
Right.
12 years ago, where social media was sort of this democratized platform where, a small team of people could scale up something really interesting very quickly and all of a sudden get connected to these opportunities that previously were not available. And I
Right.
think
Right.
AI, we're definitely seeing that, like from no experience and no coding to launching a platform in 6 months.
Sorry,
I
my
think
wife
that's
just like I'm on a call and my wife doesn't know I'm on recording a podcast, so she just popped in. Good times. Still locked the door. My bad.
hey, it happens. It happens. Hey, Sue. So yeah, I think it's really interesting. I'm so curious to see how we continue to develop. And I know this is not the last story of someone like yourself who certainly was not at a shortage of things to do, but is focused on the customer experience and is curious about how to use technology to solve those issues. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see what we continue to build.
Me too, man. I mean, the sky's the limit with this. Like, I mean, just think about like how I'll send you the. I don't know if you listen to the All In podcast, but they had, I think it was two
Yeah.
episodes ago or three episodes ago, where Friedberg talked about how AI is kind of, and people need to think about the different interactions with AI. Like it's not just text based, right? It's now it's visual, it's audio, right? And it kind of changes how you interact with your phone, even, right? Like it's not just apps. It's so that's kind of the like again back to bringing it back to how it applies to, let's say, PAX. Right now, people interact with us through Instagram or the website, or they come in person, right? But through a Barista GPT, that kind of replaces all of those channels if you think about it, right? Like I could ask Barista GPT, what hours are you open? So I don't have to look at Google Maps, right? I could ask Barista GPT, what coffees are on drip today, right? I could ask Barista GPT, what are your seasonal specials, right? So you don't like all of these things that come up on Instagram and the website and the Google Maps listings are now in this AI interface, right? So as we keep building, we got to
It's
change.
really like customer experience disguised as marketing, or marketing disguised as customer experience, right? Like now you don't have to have somebody doesn't have to wait till they can be in the middle of the night wondering what your hours are, and they can get an answer quicker than if somebody had to log in the next morning and catch up at 9
100%.
a.m. once the community manager logs in. And I
100%.
think too, using some of the tools within like Instagram, for example, after a certain hour, you can have an auto reply. Hey, we're our humans are asleep right now, but you can talk to Barista GPT at this link.
Yeah.
Boom, and then
Yeah.
maybe they get the information that they're looking for from there.
Yeah. I mean, this is kind of where, like, to your point, like how we build this to our clients and our businesses. Like, there's so much we can do, right? There's so much, and now it's the wild, wild west, right? Like, it's basically the dot-com boom. It's like what was it? Those websites that keep like pets.com and all these things that Amazon ended up buying up, and now they're just all replaced by Amazon. Like it's that kind of era now, right? So if you're building an AI tool, and this is why kind of I started with an industry that I know, which is specialty coffee shops. That and like, but in the future, I'm thinking about how this applies to other, right? Like the TAM has just got
Yeah.
a lot bigger, but riches in the niches, right? Like if you focus on a niche, do it well, then you start applying it other places. It makes your life a lot easier. So we'll see.
It's exciting, man. Well, thank you for the time, and I'm excited to share this interview. I don't know where it's going to go, but I'm curious to continue to be talk about all the cool things that my friends are building using technologies that didn't exist and we used to talk about, and we wish that there were an easy way to create an AI tool, and now we're in that age. So definitely check out Pax and Beneficia if you're in Dallas, or go online and check out Barista GPT, especially if you're a coffee shop looking to try to add
We'll add a coupon code
suite
to
as
use
well.
Barista GPT.
I love it.
Yeah,
I
we'll
love
do
it.
that.